Finally, on vacation, can take a break from all the crazy movies that are coming out. We got some good ones, a whole lot of bad ones. Fast and Furious has their 25th movie, and wait, oh, M. Night Shyamalan's got a new one. All right, let's check out this. My name's Jared, and I'm a nurse. What? I'm a nurse, and my name's Jared. Okay, so what are you doing here? It looks like you're about to review this film, and I think I could help review the film. I can help you because I'm a nurse. Are you okay? Do you need medical attention or something or? And my name is Jared. Uh-huh. No, I got that bit. Yeah.
They have to know what this place does.
I don't know!
You're lying! Look!
What is that?
A message.
We never leave each other. Nothing separates us.
We're connected to something bigger.
Oh no. We're here for a reason.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So, I'm actually excited. We have Old. So as you can tell, since I've started using more of the clickbaity titles, but that also kind of give you an idea of where I stand on this, I got some choice words for Old. But to be fair, we shall start from the beginning and start with what works in this film. And believe me, some stuff does work. So in case you haven't already heard, Old is the newest film by old M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong over here. M. Night Shyamalan, to pay my respects, because I do like this director. I don't have anything too harsh against him. I mean, how could you with such classics as 1999's The Sixth Sense? Anything else? Yeah, he's made other films since then. Some pretty good ones, I think. Some other ones. Not so much. But to be fair, no, I think he's a good director. I think Mr. Shyamalan has some very creative ideas, where he sometimes gets a little bit lost in the execution of said ideas. Old is no exception. So there's kind of I want to say a sizable cast, but there's definitely more than just a couple faces. But I'll go over the key family here. In case you didn't already know, the whole premise of Old, the reason why everybody is flocking to theaters to see it, because it's actually breaking some box office records post-pandemic year, but still, it's beaten some of the current films like Black Widow and such in the box office, and that's no small feat. But the reason why it's doing so well is because the premise is that, it's this family with some other families that are on a vacation in this remote little beach in a tropical island. Everything's going just swimmingly, pun intended. And then all of a sudden, everybody starts aging for some weird reason. Like the kids start going through puberty and start becoming from toddlers to kid to young adult to teenager. The adults are getting a little bit older. People are growing up at an alarming rate, and the whole thing is they're trying to figure out what is going on. The trailer hinted something kind of maybe with a more mystical or spooky twinge to it, especially by the end of the trailer. I think the first trailer anyhow. But that's the premise, is that they're aging on a beach and they have no idea why. Basically every 30 minutes, every half an hour is a year. So you can imagine that time is ticking. So that's the premise. Now I see the trailer for that and I'm like, okay, yeah, you got me. That's a good premise. I'm sure it's existed somewhere in the verse of film, but for the sake of this, you got me. M. Night Shyamalan's back in it. I saw a little bit of Alex Wolff, and we know, after my last review of Pig and Hereditary back in the day, how my adoration of Alex Wolff runs deep. So I figure you got some good names in there, mainly Shyamalan and Wolff, so let's see what could happen. I kind of got a peek at some of the reviews beforehand, and in my mind, I was like, well, the reviews have never been too kind to Shyamalan. He's kind of an out there director, so I'm sure go with an open mind, see what happens. So, I'll tell you what happens. Let's start with who's in it first. So, the core families who I'll stick with here. There's more cast. I don't want to overshadow them, but for the sake of time and your concern, I'll just stick with the main cast. We have the husband and wife duo, Gail Bernal, who I was unfamiliar with until this, and Vicky Crepes? Apologies, I don't know the pronunciation. But yeah, they're the husband and wife. They're having some marital issues in the film. And yeah, they are... I'm gonna hold off. We have the two kids who I'm just gonna pick out the actors who play them as in the age range that they are through a duration of the film, and that is Alex Wolff and Thomas Mackenzie. So, So I know you're itching to hear it. Let me start with the positives, okay? Look, like I said, very creative premise. I'm not disparaging that at all. It's part of what drew me into the theater. I think the premise for this film, as a premise, works very well. I think it's a good idea for a thriller. I think you can do a lot with it. And with the right cast of actors and characters, good writing and all that, I think it could come together and make a pretty, solid film. All things considered, the ending is pretty decent. I'll have a little minute spoiler discussion towards the end. I liked the ending. I did. I thought it was pretty good. Okay. I thought with what happens in the film, the ending is the least of my concern. Again, M. Night Shyamalan is known for his directing style, but most importantly, Shyamalan is known for his twists. Maybe not in his adapted stuff, like Avatar, but, The Village, The Shining, Signs, as crazy as those movies get, there's always some type of twist involved. And I'll say the twist in this one works pretty good for me. I like it. It's very Resident Evil, and I'll get to that in a second. The twist works for me. Again, I'll get to spoilers in a minute. The last positive thing I have to say about this movie is that the young adults, it's no secret that because the trailer gives it away. So Alex Wolff and Thomas Mackenzie, they're the brother-sister duo that are the kids of the primary two parental protagonists. And having to portray two people who are physically growing up, but who mentally are still children, knocked it out of the park. Great job. They portray that. At first, you're a little bit weirded out, but when you put it into context in your head, oh, they're still fucking kids. It's you know what? Bravo to put yourself in that headspace and be able to physically and emotionally portray that. Good job. Now, here we go. This is the fun part. Not the fun part. I wanted to like this movie. I didn't like this movie. I wanted to like it so badly. I shouldn't say that. I wanted to like it, but let me just say, okay, the biggest hurdle for me on this film is the performances, but it's mainly the way that every single line in this entire thing is delivered. I think somebody in a review online put it pretty well. It's like the American dubbing of a Japanese horror film or something. That wasn't just a skit in the beginning of this. That was pretty much line for line. I swapped a few words out, but that might as well have been one of the first scenes with Jared, who's a character in this movie. It's basically like that, where it's my name is Jared, and I'm a nurse. My name is Jared, by the way. And they really try to evoke emotion in this film, but the way lines are delivered, how sudden some lines are, and the bonkers characters' decisions some of these characters make is so jarring that I was laughing through most of the film. This film is a hoot. If you want to have a few drinks and then play a drinking game with this movie, then that's going to be a fun time. This movie was a trip. So yeah, delivery is weird. Normally, it's so very not... It's normally never a thing for me to be watching a film and have delivery be so not... it just felt like some kids who are stage rehearsing a theater, a play at school. They're just well, I think that perhaps the reason you're doing this is because of this. Oh yeah? Well, I'd say we're all pretty crazy for being here. Honestly, it just drilling into my head, it bugged the piss out of me. Not everybody did it. Alex Wolff didn't really do it much. Like I said, him and the girl that played his sister, they didn't do it too much. Not every character did it, but most of them did, and that's especially the husband and wife. The wife, I don't know, poor gal. I don't know if it was the accent that she has, or I look. a big issue with this film. I can't tell if it's the way the script was written or the way the actors are portraying the characters. I want to give the actors benefit of the doubt, but I thoroughly believe that if you have a good enough actor, they can still make a bad script sound pretty good. So maybe these were guys just phoning in their delivery, but my God, like the execution on a lot of these lines just falls embarrassingly flat. Like, maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but that's just what I felt. And the script, I was just talking about in Pig, how you want subtlety in your film. Every single character and their occupation are put on screen. I know what you're thinking. One of the kids is like, what is your name and your full occupation? That's one thing. He's running around doing that. That would have been a cute thing where, that's how the kid communicates and talks to people and gets the information. That's not how we find out the rest of the movie. We will just have characters introduce themselves, plant their life story into the plot in the middle of what's going on. Like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm a therapist. Maybe we should talk about this. I've had experience. Like, even the wife will be like, no, I work in a museum. I know what it's like to look at things behind glass all day. I'm like, dude, none of you know. Like, Shyamalan, if you wrote this, what happened to subtlety? Like, do you know how to portray a character and what their motivations are and their life story without having them speak every single syllable? Like, I don't know, man. That grinds my gears. I hate it when a movie not just spoon feeds me the information, but is shoving it down my throat, and not even with any, class or candor about it. They're just like, here is the plot in the script. Even when shit happens to somebody, if somebody drowns, some random character who has no medical experience steps up to the plate and they're like, wow, they must have died from exhaustion when trying to swim out past the reef out there. And it's like, what are you talking about? This person just washed up on a shore and suddenly you have a medical diagnosis that's telling the audience what happened, like you would have any clue what happened. Direction and videography in this, or cinematography, if you will. Look, man, there's some shots in this that I get Shyamalan's trying to be artsy. I ain't got no quarrels with that. I get it. But some of the shots get... fitting. But some of the shots get so artsy and so obscure that, again, it just, like, sucks me out of the film, and I'm like, what am I watching? There's a couple scenes, a couple kids playing tag, and a couple of kids making sandcastles, and this camera movement starts coming in and out, and it's like, I can't tell if I'm watching, it's like a quick Tarantino zoom onto something, or if I'm watching like Cap get the shield in Avengers Endgame, and it's like, and like they're gonna start running on the beach and start beating up Thanos. Like, there's some weird directions that the cinematography takes in this movie. Is it prevalent throughout the entire film? No, but again, like the delivery of the actors on screen, it's enough, and it happens frequently enough to take me out of the experience and for me to be like, whoa, what are you, like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, what? I could see it just fine. I don't know why you had to go and just, like, make that all weird. Overall, let me put it this way. I do not think Old is Shyamalan's best work, for sure. I kind of think it's a bad movie, but I still had fun with it. I had fun laughing. It's just a shame. I wouldn't go see it in theaters, honestly. I would rent it. I would heavy recommendation for renting. There's much better things you could see in theaters, and that's unfortunate because I think it's wasted potential. Great potential for a film, not the best execution, and just really weird choices, bad delivery. And I want to give the actors more credit because being an actor is a very difficult skill set to get right, and there's a lot more to it than your average moviegoer realizes. But Jesus Christ, is this like just weird and off-putting? And I would just say, yeah, rent it. My review for Old, look, I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to be fair. It is not a terrible film. I thought it was fair. I thought it was fairly bad. I thought it was below average, but it's got some stuff going for it. So, because of the creative premise, because of the good concepts, the decent twist, how on paper, how the narrative kind of works out, the standouts of the kids pulling this movie through and trying to make it an emotional journey, along with the effort put in. Because, I mean, you can tell there's still effort put into this film. I say low 3 out of 5. I almost thought about giving it a 2, but usually I reserve 2s for films that are bad but not terrible. Well, that are really bad. But I gotta say low 3, like a low 3. I would watch it again only in the right circumstances, and it's not terrible. But I just thought it was bad. I didn't enjoy myself too much. I think in terms of quality, it was a below average, fairly kind of bad thriller. So low, barely makes the cut up there into a low 3 out of 5. Quick spoiler talk, you asked for it. So the big twist, you wanna know what the big twist for this is? The big twist is actually pretty decent. I liked it. The twist is that it's nothing fantastic. It's nothing magical or some weird otherworldly event or person. It's that this beach is basically a beach that comes out and is surrounded by like a cliff face of rocks on either side, like old rocks, and it's like a horseshoe, right? So the idea is that there's like a certain metal or deposit in the rocks that is basically created this kind of, let's just say, echo chamber, right? And it's when you get inside of it, the forces, whether they be magnetic or otherwise, are basically affecting the cells of living things and causing the cells to rapidly age. Okay, that's fair. So that's the reason why the hair is not growing, or like the fingernails aren't growing, anything like that, because those are all dead cells technically. So on a cellular level, it's mainly everything on the inside. So biologically speaking, anything that enters that beach ages at a very quick rate. So that's why it happens. Now the big twist is that the vacation home they're visiting, they have been selecting certain families that have medical or psychological illnesses and being like, hey, we got a swanky spot on this beach out here. Nobody knows about it, see? And we want to have you come on down and have a little experience, see? And so they sell it as like, this exclusive beach. Nobody ever goes down there. We only recommend it for exclusive clientele, yada, yada, yada. So they're doing that basically to observe them, knowing what illnesses they have, and then run trials. And they even like spike drinks at the beginning of the whole thing based on what they're, when I say spike drinks, they're putting medicine in these drinks. And they're basically, for years and years, they've been using the beach as a way to study the progression of illnesses, both by themselves, but also with the effects of medicine. They're engineering. It's a pharmaceutical company. It's very Resident Evil. So yeah, people are dying, but their whole justification for it is that, well, we were able to get testing and see what this would be like for somebody for, upwards of decades. Because, 30 minutes, 1 hour, so you get to watch people age in real time. So sure, people are losing their minds and dying on the beach, but they're able to then accurately study and see what medicine works and be able to sell to the public and save lots of lives going forward. I like that premise because it doesn't paint them as purely bad guys. It paints them as people that are not doing a good thing, but their means are almost like Thanosian, and that the means almost kind of justify the ends, and I like that, and I think they could have explored more with that. So like I said, premise good, twist good, the reason for why what's happening is happening, I thought works. It services the plot and the narrative, and I think it's good. It's the execution of everything else. The directing, through a lot of weird directing choices, like I said, delivery of lines. I swear to God, if it had a better script and if it had better delivery, this movie would be so much better for me. I would be so much more into it, and it would work so much better for me. But it doesn't. It clashes. A good premise, an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, and it just clashes and it doesn't work, and that's unfortunate. Due to a bunch of circumstances that is too much to explain right now, as the final two remaining people, it's the brother and sister. They've basically grown up into their parents' roles, but brother and sister. And so they're like, oh, well, we're gonna die here anyway. What's the point of anything? But then the kid remembers, oh, this kid I met at the resort, the grandson of the chief evildoer, we were writing codes back and forth, and he left a code for me that I didn't bother translating until the end of the film that says my dad doesn't like the coral. And there's like a little shiny, almost looks like diamonds of coral in that same bay. Now, they also found somebody's journal that was randomly buried, a previous passerby in this experience, who somehow figured out to a scientific T what was going on in this movie and what the answer was. And it was like, oh, just put yourself in a metal tube. Because whenever they tried to walk out the way they came, the force of what they were in was so immense, it felt like you were trying to swim up from deep diving, and you get the bends, and you get this immense pressure in your head, and you black out. And so the idea was, oh, metal tube, you could walk out scot-free. But they didn't have a metal tube. Instead, they had a coral reef that I guess has trace deposits of something in it, and they like swam through that to get out. The killer part is, as they're swimming out, the sister gets her gown or her swimming attire caught on something, and then the presumption is, oh, they drowned. But in the weirdest of weirdest ex machina moments, as they are about to like drown, the rock that the coral is implanted in cracks down the middle and jars enough so they can like shake the coral free and get out. Now, this movie's already forsaken the supernatural. It's basically explaining everything away through pseudoscience. So why did it happen? It showed no outside force affecting it, aside from them yanking on the coral, and they can't say, oh, the coral wanted to help them, or like the beach wanted them to get away. It just happened. And it's the most random, unexplained thing in this entire film, and it just, I don't know, it just drove me insane, and I hate that it happened, because there's no fucking reason for it. I give it a low 3 out of 5. I think you should definitely watch it. Give it a watch, but don't see it in theaters. Rent it with some friends and have a good time. But overall, Old is just wasted potential, and it makes me so sad, because it could have been so much more. You could have been great. Had the makings of greatness, but Shyamalan, my guy, I've seen Split, I've seen Sixth Sense, I even give you a pass The Signs. I know that you're capable of making good films, and I really want to see some of that old spunk back in there. I like The Village too, but unfortunately this was just kind of a misstep. With better execution, this could have got him back into the spotlight. I still admire him. I like him as a director. I like his choices, his creativity. I like his love for film and the passion for it, but this just didn't hit it right for me. So anyway, that was my review of Old. What did you think? I appreciate all the support for Pig, by the way. Huge amount of support. Any new subscribers watching this, welcome. Thank you. Crazy the support that I got comparatively to the other reviews that I do. So thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. If you have any other films you want me to review, I'll take any input. Otherwise, I just go to see them in the movies and I review them on here. So thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate the view. And stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie review that I do. And goodbye, Shyamalan fans. Travelers, goodbye, travelers. Hopefully his next one's a good one, you know.